We're going to continue with our post-race press conference. We're now joined by the winning crew chief of tonight's AAA Texas 500, Chad Knaus, who oversees the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. This is the sixth win for you and Jimmie here at Texas Motor Speedway. First off, talk about the success you guys have here, and then sort of what unfolded for you atop the pit box there as the race started out with tire wear and just seeing Jimmie continue to make his push towards the front.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Obviously, we didn't know exactly what we were going to have due to the lack of practice, so we went into it with a lot of unknowns, actually. And then as people started to have some tire failures, which we saw some of that in the Xfinity race yesterday, and it's kind of typical here until the track rubbers up. We didn't really know what to expect, and initially we took off and the car was really, really tight for us. So we made some big swings to free it up, and we were able to move back towards the front a little bit. And then we had a huge transition, and the track started to loosen up for us again, so we had to tighten it back up. So we kind of played back and forth depending upon where we were running on the racetrack and what position we were, clean air versus dirty air, green flag versus caution flag. But, Jimmie and the team did a great job. We made huge, huge changes on the race car today. Throughout the pit stops, our guys did a really good job. The guys that prepared the car were actually jumping over the wall and making changes, and other guys were changing the tires. So there was a lot of activity, and the guys really worked hard for it. So for not having any race practice, I'm really proud of what these guys were able to do today.
Let's go ahead and open up for questions. Raise your hand. We'll start there in the back with Stan.
Chad, Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. When you have a day like today, how comfortable does that make you feel when the day's over and it's a checkered flag and after the season you've had?
It's been look, let's not, you got to be honest, it's been a tough last 3 months. The beginning of the year was pretty damn good to be honest with you, but we've worked hard. We tried to figure out what was going on, to battle different aero packages and different things, and the summer slump that the 48 typically goes through. So it's been a bit of a challenge, and we'd be in the middle of this championship chase if it wasn't for a small mechanical failure. That being said, I feel like that we've run really well the last 6 weeks. Martinsville being the track we probably ran the worst at over the course of the last 2 months, which is really odd. We just haven't been able to post the finishes. But to be able to come out of here today with the win and to be able to race for it the way that we did, I think it speaks volumes about where the 48 is and the no-give-up attitude that we've got. As far as me, yeah, it feels great. I like it. I don't want it to take that long before you get back here. How's that?
Going up front.
Stu Myrick, Austin Radio Network, 104.9 The Horn. What did you hear anything from other crew chiefs, maybe other Hendrick crew chiefs, about the tire situation? Was there any information going back and forth about it?
We actually had one left rear tire. We were slipping back a little bit, and Jimmie was talking about getting loose, and the caution came out shortly thereafter. As we came down pit road and took the tires off, we saw that we actually had a left rear tire flat, or going flat. It wasn't flat yet. But we didn't really communicate with the other teammates about it too much. I don't think any of our other teammates had issues. The 88 had a problem, I think, with the right front potentially. They were running in some pretty clean areas of the racetrack, so I wasn't too shocked that the 88 had some trouble. But again, I was kind of prepared for it. This track does that a lot. So we were pretty conservative on our settings, knowing that we didn't get any race trim practice to make sure that we wouldn't have a problem. And thankfully, we really didn't. But like I said, that one left rear tire we did have a small little problem with, but thankfully the caution came out and actually saved us.
Any other questions? Let's go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Chad, just trying to get a sense of perspective, looking at the 4-team and Rodney Childers, and this obviously the chase is a meat grinder, for 10 weeks anyway. They've had a lot of ups and downs. Rodney has from the running out of fuel at New Hampshire leading to all sorts of issues on and off the track or on the track during the races. How do you, when you've had throughout all your chase experiences, how draining is that? I mean, this is already a mentally taxing thing, but to have the ups and downs throughout a race, how does that wear, or how do you keep that from wearing, beating down a team or beating you down as a crew chief?
You can't keep it from happening. It's very taxing. It's a challenge. It's an emotional challenge for sure. Honestly, the driver actually probably has it the best because he gets in there and he kind of gets in a little siloed and he's, active for the 3-4 hours that you're driving. So he really doesn't have the residual effects of, gosh, I hope we got the right shocks on there. I hope they got this tight, or I hope we got that tight, or things of that nature. So on a crew chief, it's grueling. It's really, really tough. But that being said, that's why we do it. We like that. That's the thrill. That's the challenge. What they're going through, I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't even know what happened to them today. I didn't pay any attention. So, yeah. So I don't know. All this stuff is in the details, man. And let's be honest. The 4 car is going to be tough to beat at Phoenix. But I'm going to say I bet the 22 is as well, and I bet the 18, and I bet the 48, and I bet the 24, and the 88, and a bunch. So it's going to be a challenge, but the 4 car I'd say has the upper hand going into Phoenix, but we'll just have to see how it all shakes out.
Brant
James, USA Today Sports. When a team locks in at a track, you guys certainly have places where you win time and again, and Kevin, no secret, at Phoenix.
Sure.
Is that generally the driver loves the feel of the place, the really smart crew chief figures something out? What's the combination? What's the percentage?
It's all crew chief.
Is it? Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Next. No, no, it's a combination of both. Quite honestly, there's things change, the tracks change a lot. Obviously, we go through, Charlotte Motor Speedway, for instance. We went, I don't know how many races, and we won just a bunch of them, right? Then they repaved the racetrack and kind of lost a little bit of it, and we're starting to slowly get it back. Martinsville is a challenge. Since they've changed some of the stuff, we've had difficulty getting back on top of it the way that we need to. Texas is one of those racetracks that fits Jimmie's style. We've taken horsepower away from the cars, we've added downforce, we've done a lot of these things, and it's been tough for us to maybe actually get on top of where we need to be, because a lot of the tracks you just don't have to, honestly, you don't have to handle that good, and you don't have to drive that well to be able to run up front. Texas is a racetrack where you've got to have a hell of a driver to be able to make it happen. Atlanta, Chicago's, places like that, Kansas, for instance. You really got to be able to be on your game to be able to run well with those tracks. So this really falls into Jimmie's wheelhouse, and I think what helps us is Jimmie needs to be able to drive the race car, and this is a track that you've got to drive. And when you have to drive it, you have to be able to communicate with your crew chief, and that's what Jimmie does. And he speaks to us in a language that we understand at these types of racetracks, and it makes it better racing for us.
Let's go Kenny and then Stan.
Kenny Bruce, NASCAR.com. Chad, do you feel, I don't know if it's disrespected or overlooked when, like you mentioned, you guys you have 4 wins, 5 now, but people tend to think, oh, you've had a bad year.
Has-beens, washed up.
Does that ever do you ever feel like, what do we have to do?
Well, I mean, we have to not have mechanical issues and axle seal problems and things like that. And like I say, we'd be right in the middle of this thing, right? So, look, we did it to ourselves. Let's be honest. We I don't want to say we slacked, but we stunk up the summer 100%. It was horrible. It was pathetic. And, then we come into the chase, and we're running pretty good. We ran well at Chicago. We ran well at New Hampshire. New Hampshire, we had a problem. We came back, and we finished well. Chicago, we had a solid run. I'm sure we had something go wrong there, too. And just start stacking up the problems that we've had throughout the course of the season, and you get written off. But, man, this is a tough sport. 39 events, 39 weeks. We race with 43 of the best teams in racing, and it's tough. And it only takes 1 or 2 little things to make you feel like that you're out of it. But I can tell you, my guys are strong. We've got a group of guys that have never been better. Our pit crew's the best it's ever been. We've brought in 3 new engineers this year. So you would think from the onset that we should have been behind the 8 ball. Unfortunately, we came out strong. So everybody was like, oh, well, they're great, they're awesome. But there's still a learning curve that you got to go through. So I think coming into 2016, it's going to be right where we need to be, especially with these new rules. I can't wait.
Okay, with the changes that you guys made this year, did it surprise you that once again you had that summer? That slump?
The damn summer.
Because you would think, okay,
I'm just going to stay home next year. I don't know what the summer thing is. I wish I knew. We're not going to have it next year. How's that? We're going voodoo. Something. I don't know. We're going to figure it out.
Let's come back, Stan.
Yeah, Stan Creekmore again. Chad, You made the remark about being conservative in your approach to this event. How much of that conservation did you throw out the door on that final pit stop?
That was, we made some small adjustments right there at the end. The car was pretty good the run leading up to that, so we kind of had a basis of where the car was, but we made some small adjustments right there to be pretty aggressive and to try to make something happen. Look, let's be honest, in the position that we're in, if we finish second or we finish fifth, does it matter? Not really, right? So you got to go for the win. So we made some changes there, and we let Jimmie light the fuse and put on his cape and go after it.
Bob.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. How much did the lack of practice, do you feel, impact these tire issues teams are having? Or is it just, look, teams are pushing envelope and, you know, because we saw kind of the same thing a little bit in the Xfinity race yesterday.
No, that's a good question. And it's obviously it's things that we can't get on top of with more track time. But, you know, this type of racetrack, which, again, don't take this wrong. This type of racetrack and the surface and the tire and all that makes for really, really good racing. So don't think that we've got to go hyper-conservative the other direction and make it to where these tires don't wear out, because that's what we need. That's how you develop good racing and you have passing. So I think the lack of practice hurt some of the guys, and it's unfortunate for them. But, you know, this combination of tire and asphalt that we've got right now is actually what you're looking for if you want to have good racing. Well, I don't know. You watch the race. I'm in the middle of pit box. I don't know what was going on. You know more than I. But if they were tire rubs, then you know what that is. If the tires are worn out, then that's a different story. So I don't know the whole story on any of that stuff. I'll know after I watch the race next spring.
Any other questions? One final question down here in the front.
Stu Myrick again. There it goes. This is kind of a motorsports in general question, Chad. Do you feel like maybe there's kind of a renaissance? I mean, NASCAR is doing great, of course, but you're starting to see a little more popularity with other disciplines, say sport car racing, Le Mans, Formula One. Do you see kind of a renaissance of motorsports popularity as a whole in the United States?
I think so. I think Look, you got to realize the competition that we've got is just unmatched. It's pretty amazing. If you want to watch any type of motorsport or racing, this is as close as it gets. I think with the new rules that we've got, going to the fuel injection, things like that, people can start to begin to identify with what it is that we do on a regular basis a little bit more. We need to continue to push that. I think it's a huge, huge thing. The closer we get our cars to what it is that people actually drive, the more they're going to have that connection. But if you watch, like you mentioned, the 24-hour Le Mans, that technology is what people are driving day to day, and that's why it interests them. It's neat. That's fun. You know, we get to the point where we're actually supercharging and running, you know, legitimate turbos and things like that in Sprint Cup. Man, you're really going to get a lot of these kids to pay attention. So that's years down the road, if ever. But you know, I think that's got a lot to do with it. But quite honestly, the instant thrill that you get from motorsports is what a lot of the younger generation wants and looks for, and man, we deliver it. I mean, let's be honest, the last 20 laps right there, the middle 40 laps, the first 15 laps, I mean, that's what people are looking for excitement. Man, we deliver.
Chad, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
We'll go and continue with our post-race press conference. We're now joined by the winner of tonight's AAA Texas 500, Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. This is the 50th win for the Chevy SS and 106 points starts. This is Jimmie's 6th victory at Texas Motor Speedway. The first driver to win 3 consecutive Cup races at Texas Motor Speedway. You've won the AAA Texas 500 4 times in a row. This is your 75th career win. You're one shy of tying Dale Earnhardt. Ironically, you only led 6 laps for your 6th win here. Talk about your evening and that late push there at the end.
Yeah, just big day for the Lowe's race team. Summer didn't go as we wanted. There were some good races in there, but no trips to victory lane. And then to start the chase, we had 2 good races, and then Dover happened. So from that point on, we had to swallow that pill, and certainly disappointed that the hopes for the championship were gone. But We've tried to make the most of it. I think our mile-and-a-half performances have been really strong in the chase, and we've been building and knocking on the door for a win. So, into today's race, I feel like the 2-car had the field covered. Whatever went on with the adjustments in that last pit stop and the track getting shade on it and cooling down really helped my car, and it hurt his car. Maybe the second lap I could see that his car was getting really tight, and he couldn't even run the bottom of 1 and 2 as we rolled off in there, and I'm pretty optimistic and hopeful that I could get the pass done. And got close, got next to him, but just couldn't really pull the pass off. And then finally, he slipped pretty good off of turn 2, and I came from like third lane with a huge run down the back straightaway and was able to clear him going into turn 3. So. We're in the chase. We're still fighting for the championship, but to get a win here does a lot for everybody at Hendrick Motorsports. Couple that with Jeff's win last weekend and his hopes to go to Homestead and become the champion. We've definitely got a very excited 600-plus employees back in Charlotte, North Carolina. So good stuff.
That's all right, Mark.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Jimmy, over. I guess you're right. I guess my left, you're right. Any special satisfaction in beating a car that dominated and then keeping a guy from locking in a spot in the championship after you've lost your shot at the title?
Nothing in my mind. I'm not happy I kept somebody from advancing. I just don't think along those lines. Happy I beat the dominant car. That definitely was in my mind, and to see him miss the bottom as he did the second lap through, like, all right, it's on. We got a chance, because I got the second pretty quick, and I looked in the mirror, and I had a lot of space between where I was and third, and I knew that gave me the opportunity to run anywhere on the track and not have to worry about defending. And then it was just a good old-fashioned race. I mean, just race your guts out, and that part was fun. So I had a great time with it. Clearly Brad had a lot on the line. Thankful that he raced as hard and as clean as he did, and we just went out there and raced hard. He did a nice job of driving wide. His car wasn't driving as easily as it was beforehand, so he had to get in the corner and take a set, and then that arc, his car was really set on that arc from the rest of the way off because it looked tight to me. My car was driving better. I could kind of move around and pick a different lane. But honestly, if he didn't get really loose off of turn 2, first he got tight and then the back end stepped out. If he didn't lose that drive and momentum there, I'm not sure I could have gotten by him. But all it took was that one slip, and I was there.
Let's go Mike, Kenny, and then Bob.
Mike Embry, USA Today. It looked like over the last 6 or 8 laps that you were almost as dominant as Brad was the rest of the race. Was it more a case of what you've been talking about of his car kind of going away as opposed to yours getting a lot better?
I don't know. Chad was kind of asking me the same question in Victory Lane. For sure it was the best we were, and then I hadn't seen him that vulnerable, so I guess just a combination of the two. Chad was really impressed how long I was able to dog him and keep pressure on him. He didn't feel that through the course of the race he saw any other car be able to hang that long for that many laps and put pressure on somebody to overtake him, especially for the lead, because Brad was just gone. But I don't know if it was the track cooling down, adjustments, combination of both, but his car wasn't as good, and mine woke up.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Kenny Bruce, NASCAR.com. What happened on the last restart as far as how the things played out with Brad and Martin in front of you on the front row? What did you see, and what did you actually do to get clear of all that and get in position?
So they took off, and I think we made it back around to turn 1, and they rubbed a little bit getting into turn 1, and that's the last I saw Martin, so I don't know what happened and how significant that rub was, if it did any damage or what. Did he have a problem? I finished 8th or whatever. Yeah, I just saw him rubbing going into turn 1. Brad was just racing hard up there and rubbed a little bit door to door, and that was it. So then after that, went to work trying to get by the 2.
What were you looking for when that restart happened? I mean, was there?
I was hopeful they spun each other out and just handed it to me. When they touched, 78 was gone pretty quick, and then I'm wondering if the 2 might have a tire rub or something like that, and I didn't see any smoke, so I assumed he was fine.
Let's go, Bob.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Did anything in the last 3 weeks impact how you raced those last 10 laps, 10, 15 laps? And would you still would you still have been done as much contact if you needed to as you would have done in the past?
You know, honestly, I race people how they race me. And Brad's always raced me clean and hard, and he did that again today. And you know, we both showed each other that same respect. So it was really, you know, what's gone on between other drivers the last few weeks has no bearing on myself. You know, you really handle your own situation and how people treat you, how respectfully they race you. And we just had a good hard race today.
Okay.
Jay Pennell of Fox Sports, 75 career wins, puts you one behind Dale Earnhardt. We saw Jeff tie that a couple years ago and then move on past that. What would that mean to score that next win and tie him and then, you know, potentially go forward and pass his record?
It would be huge. It's hard to even put it into words. You know, I came into the sport hopeful to win a race, and to have 75 of them is mind-blowing. And if I'm able to tie a senior, it would be, you know, just something that sits deep in me and something that I'd be just extremely proud of. Yep.
Stu Myrick, Austin Radio Network and 104.9 The Horn. 6 wins at Texas Motor Speedway. What is it about this track why you do so well here?
Honestly, I feel like the tracks that are abrasive and bumpy just fit my style and fit our team style, and this track is has more content in it, and I think the asphalt is, you know, on the older side of really anywhere we run, and that really suits us well and fits for us.
Let's go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. I've got 2 questions. With heading into Phoenix and the success that Kevin Harvick has had there, winning the last 4, obviously there's a lot of line for the Chase guys. I know you still you're there to win as well. How do you define that success there of one competitor? I know you've had some streaks at some tracks, and why it seems to happen, and how tough that's going to be for others. And the second question is, did you see Matt Kenseth's tweet that referenced you in how you handled things at the end of the race?
No.
He said, so you can...
Clearly he was watching and bored at home.
He said, he said, good work.
I heard his Packers lost, so he's probably not in a good mood.
He said, good work, Jimmie Johnson. Textbook pass for the win at the end of the race when someone is trying to take your lane. # quintessential.
That's a nice buzzword. Ooh. Oh, Matt's. We always thought he was boring and quiet. Look, he's always on fire. No, thank you, buddy. Yeah, I don't know how to even answer that, to be honest. The first question, Phoenix defending a streak. You know, when we've had a streak going, deep down inside, you're happy you're going on that track. You know, but also deep down inside, you know that was a year ago. You know that in the instance at Phoenix, it was months and months ago, and a lot has changed. But you know what you're looking for as a driver. You know what you're looking for as a crew chief. What's tough is when you unload and you're off at a place like that, where you've had success, and you show up calm and relaxed, and then when you're faced with some adversity, it's easy to overreact. It's easy to kind of hit the panic button, especially with all the pressure that's on the line. And that's something you have to manage. We've had to, anybody with a streak at a particular track, you've got to show up with realistic expectations, but enough swagger, you know, and that it's a track that's good for you, and then go get it done. And it's so hard to make it through an entire weekend, make it through an entire race. We saw the flat tires today, mechanical issues, racing issues that can pop up. Phoenix is a tight little scrappy racetrack. You know, the streak that the Fords had there with 4 wins in a row is an impressive one. It's not an easy place to get it done. So I guess there's a couple other cars. The Penske cars are strong there, and they both need a win. So it's going to be an interesting race out there.
Daniel.
Dale McFadden, NBC Sports. With 2 races left in Jeff Gordon's Sprint Cup career, in all your years with him as a teammate, what's going to be the one memory, your favorite memory of racing against him?
For me, I think The championship battle we raced for in '08 comes to mind. I guess a particular race I would, it's somewhere in that area as well. Raced him for the win at Martinsville, and he was trying to move me out of the way the last lap, and we were door to door to the finish line at Martinsville. So I'd be between those two thoughts, two memories.
George.
Jimmy over here, George Diaz, Orlando Sentinel. Chad mentioned this a little bit about the struggles you had this summer. Obviously, as good as it feels now, and not to be Debbie Downer here, but is there a little bit of frustration you think you might feel down the road thinking, this kind of got away from us where we could have been chasing another title?
Yes and no. I mean, I've got to be fair and honest and look at the race after Dover, which was Charlotte, and we had a problem with an oil pump there. And then our next two performances wouldn't have helped us transfer, so we would have been out. So the reality of it is we're not as strong as we need to be, and we've been searching for a couple years. I feel like we're making progress. I feel like our mile-and-a-half stuff is improving. The cars are a lot more comfortable to drive in traffic, and I can go out there and race like I did tonight and lay it on the line and not worry about spinning out. So we're getting there. Unfortunately, we still got a ways to go. So the win's important. I think we were a top 5 car, top 3 car all day, and then circumstances at the end got us the win. We want to get back to being the dominant car, and we still have some work to get there.
Joey.
Joey Barnes, TributeRacing.com. Jimmy, just kind of getting your thoughts here. With Jeff Gordon, this being his final season, and him being the last Hendrick driver standing as far as the championship battle goes, how much y'all as an organization are rallying to try to get him that title?
We're doing everything we can. There's no doubt about it. When you get into the race weekend and the driving style that Jeff has, the style that Alan has with his race cars, it's really tough for especially the 48 to say, hey, this works for us, because Alan goes about it differently than Chad does, and Jeff and I drive a different feel, look for a different feel in our race cars. So we're trying, we're doing everything that we can to help. But unfortunately, you're pretty limited, and I guess it's good. I mean, it's really up to the individual team to go out and get their job done. So, I'm certainly pulling for them and do everything that I can to be of assistance.
Nate, behind you.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. I have two, Jimmy. One is that Keselowski not winning here essentially means that it's going to be him or Logano advancing at Phoenix if one of them advances. If Keselowski wins this race, there's probably still a possibility that Logano could advance at Phoenix, but now it's probably an either-or situation. You've been in that situation with battling Jeff for championships. What do you think it's like for a team like that, where it looked like throughout this entire race they might have 2 shots at the finale, and now they've only got 1?
Yeah, racing teammates is tough. There's nothing easy about it, and the way those 2 cars have become so successful and fast is the way that they've worked together. And I'm sure Roger's going to continue to preach that the only way one of them will have a shot at Phoenix to advance is if they continue to work together. And a good problem to have would be both cars, up front and running 1-2. So I assume that's the direction things will go, but it's not easy. Then you get on the track, and if you really are duking it out for the win, you're supposed to leave your teammate an extra inch or 2, and then your championship's on the line, your career is on the line. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes and how everybody handles the pressure.
And then the other thing was that there was a lot of superhero illusions getting tossed around about your victory. Kyle Busch said that Superman got the job done. Chad was in here earlier saying you put your cape on. Those are the types of things I think we used to hear a lot during your 5 championship run. I know you're a humble guy, but does it make you feel good to hear people talk about you that way, and that sort of like awe-inspiring, sort of like he just finds a way to win when it's on the line like that?
It is cool to hear. I wish I would have found a way to win a few more times this year. It's been a long, dry summer, so glad that I found the cape. It wasn't too dusty and too far away.
Steve Richards with PRN. You'll have to forgive me on how I asked this question because it is a quote.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. On the radio before the final restart, Chad said, "Let's go out and scare the shit out of them." How much did that inspire you, and did that, fire you up? Yeah, that's the term.
I've always told him he's a terrible cheerleader. He tries like hell. I've even yelled at him a few times telling him he sucks at it. So And he still today tells me to eat and drink in the car. Would you think if I was thirsty, I would remember to grab my drink tube and take a drink? Or if I was hungry, get something to eat? So it's just a crew chief thing. They go through it. At that point in time, it did bring to my attention both those guys. It tells you how much I pay attention. I thought both just needed to finish well. I forgot the two had to win. So I took that as, hey, put pressure on these guys. If there's enough pressure on them, they might choose to get a good finish over racing for the win. But as soon as the green fell and we went racing, that all goes out the window, and you're just worried about passing the car.
Go back to Steve.
Jimmie, I wanted to ask a motorsports general question. Of course, NASCAR growing in popularity. There seems to be a renaissance, though, in motorsports in the United States, from ARCA to sports car to endurance championship to Formula One to other disciplines. Give us your thoughts on that, what you attribute it to, and how well the growth of those disciplines also helps NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to see where other forms of motorsports are at, and even on a weekly level, in the NASCAR world or stock car racing, because our circus is on the road every week, and we go track to track and just know our environment. But I'm just happy that there are many other passionate people out there and people that love this sport, love this industry, and choose to spend their life doing it. And that's what really advances it, is people that are all in, people that are passionate about this sport, and hopefully in the end put the right hat on and try to keep the sport healthy and advance it and do what's right for the industry. So happy to hear that it's strong, and hopefully we can keep growing the NASCAR side of things, because I think if we're successful, all ships will kind of rise at the same time. So looking at the other major divisions of racing, there's very compelling racing that's taking place, great personalities and all the big series and divisions. So I know that's helping the cause.
Any additional questions? Jimmie, thank you very much, and congratulations.